Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Motivational Rant. I am your host, Dino, the genetic marvel, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Crystal Morency. Did I say it right this time?
Why, hello, everybody. Yeah, you did.
Yeah! Fuck everyone else, yes. I did it right!
I'm still not even going to attempt yours.
That's a good idea. That is a good idea.
Yeah. We're friends. I don't want to fuck up your name.
See, and look, and that's why I go by Dino the Genetic Marvel. I told people that the other day, and then they're like, why? What's your last name? I said, Bledsis. They're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, it's just, I don't know.
When I was hosting my comedy show there, and everyone's like, "Oh, she just said my first name." I'm like, "Dude, you don't want me to attempt your I'm like, I will butcher the shit out of your name in general. Like, I had to call Jared. I had to call him the Barbados stud because I couldn't remember his last
You know what?
So I'll come up with a nickname.
See, and my big thing is if you don't know my name, then be creative, make it funny. Absolutely.
Yep.
Go for it, right?
Yep.
I have no problem if you're gonna say something like that, but it's listen, but make it funny. Bring your A game or don't even try. You know, either you're gonna look stupid for not forgetting my name, or you can make this into a bit. Those are your choices, right?
Yep.
If you choose not to make it a bit, then what the fuck are we doing here?
I totally made his name into a bit because I was like, Mr. and I didn't want to say his first name. That's why. It's because I couldn't say Jared and I didn't know his last name. So I'm like, Mr. Barbados is up next. And then I started to tell kind of one of his, where he talks about spanking the kids. And I was like, D is for daddy. So I turned it into something. It was funny. But oh my God, I have to start off by telling you something.
Hit me.
Okay, before we start this, because before I say anything that I'm going to have to do this again, I messaged my date, because today's episode is going to be the one that I talk about when we get back from camping.
And you're hey, maybe not watch this one? Or?
Well, I just messaged him, I'm like, hey, shits and giggles, I'm like basically I'm sorry, it's all for shits and giggles,
see, okay.
I would imagine that I'm gonna have to do this more than once. This isn't gonna be a first time for me. Or last,
you know what,
or last time. I mean,
it's much worse when you continue to date the person, I think, by giving them a date review. So there's two sides to it, right? Because the fact you're not going to continue dating says that, well, I can do whatever I want. But if you continue dating that person and they see what your review of their date is...
well, no, not that. Okay, and I say it too, like I said before, he's an awesome guy and everything. It's me, I'm fucked up. Yeah. And then I come up with these scenarios where I'm like, am I going to die? Blah, blah, blah. But this is all from this is all, I've got shit.
Yeah. No,
it's not his fault.
Listen, it's I think the bigger problem about people finding connections with others is that we don't talk about it. And you know what? Yes, there's certain things that I don't talk about with regards to me and Victoria, just because those are private, right? Well, and that's why it's
you don't need to share your shit with the whole world, in your relationship. Relationships are supposed to be you and them.
And look,
and that's your world, and then everybody else is just there.
And that's why it's listen, there are certain things that you want to make sure that intimacy stays intimate, right? When intimacy is no longer intimate, it's a little bit weird. I have to ask, what the fuck are you eating? Because it just looks weird, okay? It's like a pepper this long. I don't know what you're eating.
It's a freezy.
Oh, you fucking bastard.
It's one of those
She's chewing a freezy, people. Just so you understand that she is chewing a freezy. You eat ice cream you take bites out of ice cream, don't you weirdo? That's disgusting.
No, I lick it. I lick it because I'm trying to be all seductive.
That's gross. Okay, you know what? Okay, the funny thing is that there's such a high expectation of that's put on women to be seductive in anything they do. And I have to admit, there are times where I'm like, I'm happy I'm a dude, But for certain times,
you don't want to walk around having to be like,
hi, how are you?
You do anyways.
I know, but it's, you know what? That's the thing is, I do that to try and, number one, make fun, but also to, because remember, if I walk around angry, then that's what I give off. So when I walk around and try and be pleasant, well, pleasant, not happy, that's what I get back from people, right? So
see, as much as I joke about it and stuff like that, but I really don't like being seen as just like a sex thing, like,
oh God, no,
I don't like that.
Well, that's the problem.
Like, and I don't mean to do like shit like that, but it does happen, and it's just
Oh yeah,
and you just have to joke about it so that way you don't feel like you're like fuck, like
Look, and that's like I think that's one of the things that I actually am enjoying about all the changes that are happening in society is that people are really trying hard to get away from that sexualization of people in a mass scale, right? And that's why it's like it's that weird thing where you shouldn't sexualize people randomly. And that's why, like, I remember someone was saying, there's nothing wrong with complimenting somebody as long as you're not making it sexual. Like, you can't walk by and be like, hey, great tits, gonna think about those later. You can't say that. That's not okay, right? But then at the same time, like
they think, it's a compliment. Oh, it's a compliment.
No,
it's really not.
That's
not at all.
Really,
thanks. I'm happy I make your dick hard.
And that's
awesome,
right? Well, and that's the thing is,
thanks.
People think that by me saying that you arouse me, that's a compliment. You're no, that's not. Like you're and that's why like people try and equate it to some sort of rape, and I'm like that's
what
too
they
far.
want too, though.
It's what it is.
I think it's just more of what the person wants, because men are like, men would love to be told that they want to be fun.
I think so.
What I mean? Like,
I think so.
Yeah. So they do it because they're like, well, this I would like, so that person should like it, type thing. It could be. I don't know. Like, look, that's just you know what I mean? Like, that's just one view on it.
I like being called pretty. I'll say it. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I've had times. This did happen. This was actually pretty funny. Somebody called me beefcake. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Oh. Aw, look at you. Aw, you should get a t-shirt. I'm a beefcake, baby.
I already have trophy husband. I don't really want to go too far with it. But that's the thing is, it made me feel nice. But if someone's like, I bet you got a big wet dick, you're like, whoa. That is gross, man.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, okay.
How is that a segue?
For the record, I just have to make this on film, let everybody know, because I saw this post on Facebook, and I was like, oh my God. So it had like this chickens, like, and it looked like a really like beefy vagina, like a really bleh. And they were like, when she says that she's ready to settle down, I'm like,
I'll be honest with you.
I'm like, at my age and my past, people are going to imagine my vagina like that. And I'm like, I need to take a picture of it and post it so that way people know. Like, and it's not because I really want everyone to see my vagina, but I really don't want them to have that in their head.
So
I'm like, oh my God.
I saw that. I did share it with a few men because it was actually, it was the entrance of a turkey. Gross. That's what it was. And
it made me puke.
It was so bad. And that's why.
Oh my God.
See, now
I was like, oh my God, people look at me. I'm almost 40.
No, okay, so I'll tell you right now.
I'm single.
I'll tell you right now. Okay.
My vagina has not been beaten up, everybody.
What the fuck?
It's good. I do Kegels.
I do Kegels too. It's good in maintaining your ability to control urine. It's proper for your bladder and your pelvic floor. It's good for both men and women.
And I want my cupcake to be like, ta-da!
Okay, so we're going to keep on going with cupcake. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. Every guy that I sit to, I'll tell you this, okay? No man assumes that that's what they're expecting, okay? I'll tell you that right now.
I hope fucking not.
But the response I got from some men who I highly regard were like, "We all have regrets, man. Don't rub it in." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And listen, there's, you know what? Listen, if you got a mutilated vagina, just like a mutilated penis, there's still love out there for you. There is still love out there for you.
It makes me want to go and be a whore, so that way I could be like, look, see, I'm still getting laid, I'm not ready. I'm like, I still, you know, like, I can still, I'm not ready to settle down, I promise, my vagina's awesome. Like, do you either have to wait till you get fat, wait till you have too many cats, or wait till your vagina looks like that?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being fat, okay? I am pleasantly plump.
No, I mean, like, and fat, and there's nothing wrong with being, okay, fat, and now everyone's gonna say that you're fat. She's
yes!
Fat.
I win again!
I'm the one who's always getting in trouble. You always win.
Well, you know, hey.
I always say the wrong thing.
That's true.
And I can't help it.
It's funny.
I just don't pre-think before it comes out. It just comes out.
That's what gets a lot of men in trouble. I'll tell you that much. I didn't think and it just came out. Well, not on the subway.
I have more testosterone, like I have an abnormal amount of testosterone for a girl, so I think that's why I gave such great head.
Listen, let's be honest.
And I have no boobs, so. I have no boobs, so tit for tat. Okay, let's talk about something other than that. Like,
the current state of your vagina and your ability to give good head.
Ew.
Yeah, that's probably...
I'm gonna put... Yeah. Well, no, because I have to... This grossed me out so much that I got so like, is that what people think?
No.
Like, oh my God.
It's not.
Deep breath.
It's what people hope not to be, right? But no one, no one ever assumes. It's like, look, you went camping. You didn't assume that you would die, right? But then things came up, and you were like, that might be on the table, right? It turned out not to, which is great.
It was all
right?
me.
It was all you.
Let's say that it was all me.
Absolutely.
I'm like, let's say
fine.
it was all me.
That's fine. Listen. We know that he was a nice guy. He tried to express himself. It may have been...
He showed me a great time.
Yeah, it may have been...
I had an amazing weekend.
His efforts may have been misinterpreted, but not for his own reasons, but more so just because it was a series of events that went wrong. And you know what? Yeah. I hope that he is benefited by that information because, listen, like, remember what I was telling you, is Any Money says at some point you said something about train tracks or train something, like, just like in passing, and he was like, oh, there is one that's going to be so... In his mind, he was like, I am winning this
exactly.
shit. And you're like, this...
He was really trying to, pull out all the stops.
For sure.
Like, and it was awesome.
100%
it was
sure.
Great.
100%.
I think I'm just so unfamiliar with, like, you know, that I'm like, is he trying to fucking kill me? What is this guy? Why is he being so nice to me? Like, this fucker, he's going to wear me as a fucking coat.
I feel, you know what?
I think that could be me.
See, this is the thing. It's like, there are very few times when I'm not significantly larger than other people, right? So in my mind, I always try and make sure that people don't see me as the aggressor, because if I'm the aggressor, I'm fucked. Like, it's that's why I always try and be the cooler. But there are times when I've lost my cool, I'll tell you that right now. And it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And I feel bad about it a lot. Because you don't want to, and that's why it's like especially for a guy who's trying to be romantic and stuff, because you don't know, and that's the hard part, is like, you'd be like, listen, I wish we lived in a world where you could go, hey man, listen, I'm having a good time, but you're doing some weird shit. Let's talk about it, you know? But I don't think you can.
I wonder if it was.
No, that's like, well, what are you going to say? Be like,
I probably can. I'm good at talking to people, but he just has like these piercing blue eyes too, like beautiful piercing blue eyes, and really, really small like pupils though. So it was like that.
So it looks like Millhouse. It looks like Millhouse is what you're saying.
No.
Wee beady eyes. Wee beady eyes.
Well, no, it's just, you know, like you get like, I should not. It was just, it was a great time though. Like, and I suggest for every other woman other than this fucked up crazy one here.
You're not crazy. Listen, you're not.
He's better off.
It's not. No, it's not about that. Look, you said it yourself that you felt that you weren't ready for that kind of relationship just because, remember, like, we're always working on ourselves. And I feel that people don't applaud that enough, where it's like, listen, none of us know what the fuck is going on. We're all, and especially now where things are so heinous, right? We are just trying to keep a grip. Like, we discussed it before. It's like, listen, we've all made growth in our own path. And I'll be honest with you, I'm proud of the growth that I've made. But there are times when I look back and go, man, I was a piece of shit sometimes, where I was derogatory to women, or maybe I said something that was a little bit offensive to a certain race, and you're going, you know what, like, listen, I didn't ever said things that were really bad, but you know what, my actions weren't that welcoming, and that's not okay, right? And that's, I try and be that welcoming. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with what happened. It's more so that just like, listen, we don't talk about it enough to be able to work through it on the spot, because everyone's going, whoa, 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 we're talking about feelings? I don't want to talk about feelings. I don't have feelings. I'm a man. Men don't have feelings. You're like, whoa, man. Everyone has feelings. Just calm down. I'm not saying you should walk around crying on people's shoulder. That's fucking weird. Maintain your shit, but listen, the people that are important to you, it's worth talking with them about. And that's a hard thing, because a lot of times, if you're not on the same level with that person, they will freak out and be like, whoa, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. No, man. And then you're like, you have people that still will use the insinuation of being a homosexual. Like, no, I'm not gay, man. I don't have feelings. You're like, that's really stupid, right? Because that has nothing to do with anything.
It makes it harder for anything to progress. Like,
everything.
I've fucked up so bad. I've lost family. Like, I've lost some very important, family and everything. And it just... And this is what I wanted to say before, is everybody's we criticize ourselves. We have a lot that we know we fuck up. We're the ones that have to deal with it every day, right? We're the ones that have to deal with the repercussions at the end of the day. Yeah. So if somebody's fucked up and they've done something, they know it. Yeah. Chances are, like, I've fucked up huge, changed my whole life around, everything, lost it all. Like, I had, I just lost it all, and I've been coming up from that. All I can do is try every single day to get a little step further and a little step further, and then eventually, and you just got to keep going. Look, and things set you back sometimes, and you'll have a moment, but you know what you came back from, so you know that anything's possible. Absolutely. So no matter what happens, it won't stop you, because look at what you got through already, and that's for everybody in every situation. And whatever bad happened, it's over, it's happened, and now what?
And that's one of the things, we don't applaud those baby steps that everyone takes on a daily basis to improve. I feel that's...
We don't even acknowledge them sometimes.
No, not at all. You know what? You're right. We don't applaud them, but we don't even acknowledge them. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And thank you for making that point.
Because bad's so easy to see. Like, everyone loves negative. That's why on the news they post all negative. And people look for the negative. Yeah. So they'll sit there and they'll dwell on that negative and not move on and see anything that the person's done towards any positive.
Well, look,
because all they see is that negative, because that's what's on the news. That's what's on everybody's talking about, right? So why nobody's talking about good stuff? So why should they?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Look, that's one of the things that keeps on happening. I'm finding that we're all on different stages of our journey, right? And that being said, it's kind of ludicrous for us not to be willing to applaud someone else's personal growth. The fact that we don't, that looks badly on ourselves. So if I can't applaud your personal growth, then how am I supposed to grow myself, right? It doesn't make sense.
See, and the thing is, though, is that we're technically, nobody's ahead of anybody on their stage. And nobody can say it, because I was just watching a podcast of a comedian that I seem to be watching, and I'm not even going to say his name, because every time I watch his podcast, I get a little bit more like... I'm not sure if I really like you, like as a person. It's just like this
she's
personality
watching
keeps
this.
coming out.
She's watching this. She's watching my side of it. And she's like, I don't know. You're a little too fat for the screen. Just go on.
This guy, fucking dude. But anyway, so on the podcast, on the podcast, the guy goes, he talks to other comedians, like assistants and stuff like that, and he's like, they're not equal to me. He's like, so why do I have to talk to, like, and it's like, whoa. Like, that's like a CEO saying, oh, well, and there's nobody, I don't care what your job is, how long you went, that doesn't make you equal, above anybody at the end of the day.
True.
Because you don't know where did you start off? Where did you begin? You know what I mean? What did you start off with?
I agree.
Did you start off with a different? No, but that person got to where they're at with nothing.
Yeah.
But yet you started off with so it's like you don't know somebody though. That it's just not even starting off because that's more personal. But it's beyond personal stuff. It's you don't know, and nobody's above anybody, and that's how we get these problems with classes. They separate people in life, like they have lower incomes areas of a town, they have the middle class, and they have the higher class, the gated communities and stuff like that. That's ranking people. We're putting people into groups, and that's what causes so much shit. People need to get it out of their heads. I don't care who the fuck you are, what you've done, you're not better than anybody.
And you know what? And I want to unpack that a little bit. It's interesting how you brought that up. Is that because I know for myself that there have been times where I have not started conversations with people. Like I will never not acknowledge someone. If I don't acknowledge you, I don't like you. I don't want to talk to you. That's what it is. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with your position in life, the color of your skin, where you're from. No, you're a piece of shit person. I don't want to talk to you. That's what it is. Now, that being 100%. Said, that being said, right, is if I see someone, so in that scenario where someone is an assistant or something of that nature, my opinion, I would acknowledge them, I would greet them, I'd be polite with them, but I'm not going to strike up conversation because my perspective is you're on the job. You know what I mean?
See?
So I don't...
that, you guys!
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, that's like comedians... This is bugging me about comedians, too, because it's bugged me about a lot of other positions and jobs and stuff. True. And I'm on LinkedIn and stuff, and they're like, oh, well, you have to be doing it for this amount of time in order to get... in order to do this or in order to do that, you have to have this many time. Yeah. Okay, that's like for this job, they're saying for businesses because I don't have an actual like bachelor's degree or whatever. I've owned my own very successful businesses and without a degree, and I have contact, like I've learned how to do all the marketing, everything completely by myself. Yeah. And yet I had a $30,000 profit, and within 6 months on a business just recently. Like it's, you know what I mean? Well, it's just a month.
And that's what.
Sorry, 30,000 a month.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if they talk to me, I wouldn't talk back. I'd happily.
That's their job.
But I'm not gonna go out and try and start. Like I would feel that I'm bothering them if they're doing something, right? So it's like, I'm not, and that's why, like, I'm not saying that, oh, I wouldn't talk to you because you're working. No. If you talk to me, yeah, I'll talk. I don't really care. But I'm not going to go and start bugging these people because I'm like, no, I don't want to disturb you.
No, I mean like an interaction. Like, I mean like an interaction, how you, like, talk to them as if, like, you don't acknowledge them as equal. Like, you're like, oh, well, I make more money than you. Or, because he's like, oh, I'm a comedian, I worked really hard to be where I'm at type thing and stuff. And it's like...
And you wouldn't be there without the people below you.
Well, in that, and not only that, and he's like, not only that, these people, they're like, okay, well, you are on, you have friends in low places too. Yeah. Just saying.
And that's the whole thing. Like, realistically, I don't think that the way someone treats the lower person, I put that in quotations because it's just a filler word. It's not really accurate. But how you deal with that person is how I expect you'll deal with everyone, right? The only reason you wouldn't deal with me like that is because of fear or thinking that you can get something from me. So I don't trust you immediately. You're a piece of shit. Actually, it's funny. I saw a GIF today.
This person turned me off today.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Really, I was like, I was just like, whoa, buddy, like... well, he turned me off a while ago, like a little bit, but I still do because I'm like, whatever, shit happens. And then I was like, oh, that saying that they were joking about it. He's like, well, at least I can acknowledge it. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah,
No.
but you're not acknowledging that it's bad. You're just acknowledging that you do it.
Yeah. That's not the same thing. That's like someone saying,
not the same thing.
well, maybe I've been racist. Okay. Are you still racist?
He's done that. Person has done that. This person's like, oh, well, because they were counting how many times he said the N-word and stuff, and they were joking about it.
Look,
but he's joking about it, and it's all good. It's just one of those giant frat boys. Like, it's like, oh, this is what a frat boy looks like when they're all grown up and they got fat, and that's what they tell jokes about.
Yeah, that's not funny.
Is that they're basically disgusting. That's all like, oh, I outside shower. Like, great. I can eat 12 Krispy Kremes.
You may have given that away. So let's be careful.
Oh well, fuck them.
Listen, the way I see it is this: is that if you deal with people equally, then you will get treated equally, right? And a lot of times, it's funny. I saw this. It was a video or a GIF that I saw today. That I was just like, wow, that was actually pretty interesting. Which shows a man who has sunglasses on and he has a cane. So the assumption is that he cannot see. He's blind or at least visually impaired. Okay, and a lady is walking in the opposite direction on a pathway with her dog. As she walks by him, she sticks her hand out and she waves it in front of his face, essentially mocking his inability to see. Oh
my God.
Right? Now, as she walks by, the dog stops, turns around, grabs a stick that he would have tripped over, and moves it out of the way, and then the dog continues walking. And you're going, yeah, that's why that lady deserves to be shit on. Yeah. Because, and obviously it was made up. It was some people were acting. I'm sure it's not real. I hope it's not real. But you're saying, listen, why would you, and that's like, there's such a fine line between being funny on stage, okay, and then treating people in real life, right? Like, a lot of people will go on stage and they'll make inappropriate jokes and they'll talk about things that you're saying maybe you shouldn't. They'll use words that are a little bit aggressive.
Oh.
Right?
I've done it.
Listen, and to a degree, you say, okay, like there's some things that, yes, people are saying, well, I'm edgy. I heard this term. I'm an edgelord. Whatever the fuck that means, put it away. Just stop using it. It's stupid, okay? It's just a stupid name, right?
We all just see that in your head, technically, you're racist and you want to be cool about it.
Well, and that's...
or technically you're a douche and you want to be cool about it.
Well, and here, what's the thing is, like, look, there's a certain division, and this is something I've told a lot of people, was that when you're the same on stage as you are off stage, on stage, you're very exposed, in that you're very susceptible to what's happening. And it's part of the process of receiving applause and comedy and everything. You become very vulnerable in that situation. But when you come off stage, if you're that same person, historically, those are the same guys who tend to kill themselves that were comedians, because they had no protection between on stage and off stage. And that's why it's like I go on stage and I'm very, I believe the term would be curmudgeonly, okay? When I come off stage, I smile at people.
He got his thesaurus today. Dino's using his thesaurus today.
It's true. But that's the whole thing, right? Like, realistically, when I come off stage and people are like, oh, you're really funny, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. And they're like, oh. And the funny part was that, like, I usually end and start my sets very, very similar every time. So I start off, and one of the things, a specific way, I'm not going to say it here because go to Dino the Genetic Marvels YouTube page and you can watch there. So, but in turn, like, I'll usually end and be like, I'm like, well, I think I've done this long enough, so... You guys were, I'll say, I'm like, you guys were horrible, and And they start laughing. And a comic pointed it out to me how another comic did something similar and no one did anything. People were just like, you know? And I was like, am I not believable? They're like, no, you're believable, but everyone can tell that you're embellishing that negativity just for our entertainment.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like,
exactly.
all right, I'm not a piece of shit. Yes, you know? No one knows that I'm garbage. It's you know?
I just wanted to, I wanted to add something to the,
Sure.
because I want to say people that are successful and they are like, you know, the CEOs or they are famous comics or they all, I do see that you should respect them and you should show them and tell them like that they're, like if you feel that way, of course, that they're an inspiration, and I commend people. I buy CDs still, like if I like a band, I buy DVD, like I definitely show my gratitude to the people on top and show them different things, but
Hi-yo.
you just can't, like, they worked hard. They did work hard to be where they're at, and they do, like, you know, put themselves out there, and they do, so there's a huge respect for people that are a little bit higher, but you can't diminish the people that are anywhere in between.
I agree.
You know?
Guys, you heard it here. Crystal applauds people on top. That's I couldn't resist. I'm so sorry. You said it, and I'm like, oh, how are you going to say something like that? I can't not say something.
It does give me time to paint my nails and eat a sandwich.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with multitasking as long as you say, hey, that was great afterward. Okay?
Yep.
You know?
Oh, baby, thank you. No, I do not ever want to be in that relationship.
That's so condescending. Oh my God. If somebody said that, I'd just be like, oh, we're doing this shit again, and you're going to fucking lose your mind. See, this is okay.
That's a good way to get it again and get it.
See, I was
women out there.
I was talking about this with somebody else, and it's just like it's you don't really understand how important it is, like how you're regarded when you treat everyone a certain way, and like that's one of my big things. Like I was a waiter when I was younger, and I was a shit waiter. I was horrible. I was a horrible waiter. But this was a time when I was much thinner and I was beautiful. See, eventually when we have all this up and running and we actually know how to work with computers and everything, I'd be like, I was beautiful. Pictures right here. But that's... yeah.
I know, right?
But that's the thing is, that was a different time. And, like, realistically, I was still 6'2". I was still a very broad man. Like, I was, you know... I was intimidated,
nice.
right? But I
want to see that picture.
I'll show you the picture, no problem. But that's the thing is like, but I still treated people nicely. I still know what to do. And like one of the things was I worked. It was at a Montana's in Brampton was where I was working, and it was newly opened. And in actuality, I was the last male serving staff that they had. Everyone else had been let go because it was brand new, and it got to the point where they actually had to start rehiring people, and I was just like, I survived all the cuts. Oh, but I was a shit waiter. I was a shit waiter, but I was charming. So like if a group of women came in, so
well, that's all you need.
Well, so I was 1920 around there. So it's like if there was a group of women between the ages of 25 and whatever came in, if there was a group of them, they got sat in my section because I would just schmooze the shit of them, like, ladies, how are you? Just so you know, I am also on the menu. You just let me know. We'll make an arrangement later. And they're like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, that's for every one of you. You guys are all kicking it. And women are just like, I had one lady who's like, how dare you talk to me like that? I'm like, hey, you look like you're having a bad day. How about I get you your drink first? And she's like, thank you. And I'm like, no problem. And that's like, you just have to roll with it. And that was a learning experience. But when someone came up to me, I had this a couple times where people were very, not only aggressive, but they did like, excuse me. One guy did this. He was like, excuse me. And I grabbed his hand and just started squeezing. I'm like, and I just looked at him and I said, that's probably not the nicest thing to do for people handling your food, eh? And he was kind of going, okay. And I just go, yeah, let's not do that again. And then he was like, he went to clap at somebody to get their attention, and I just like put my head around the corner and be like, really? And he was like, no, not gonna do that. I'm like, yeah, don't be stupid. It was a weird time, I had a manager who goes, you can't talk to people like that. I'm like, you should be talking to people like that. I shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
That's your job, you asshole. Yeah. That's why it always bothers me when people do that. I totally agree with you. It's.
I have 20 years of bartending and waitress. Like I've been doing it since I was 16, and this is how I'm a 4 nights and 2 days kind of bartender. Which bartenders, you don't get 6 days a week. It's just not a thing. There's so much rotation. There's so much thing. But I can talk to people. I had people stay from the start of my shift to the end of my shift because I know how to get a bar full of people. You get them all together. You get all talking. You get joking around, blah, blah, blah. And how to make... I say it over. I fucking hate myself for repeating the same shit all the time. But you gotta make people comfortable. But no, you just you gotta. But if somebody's out of hand, because I've worked in a lot of bars where I'm by myself, there's no bouncers. You know, when it gets near the end of the night, you get somebody's all drunk and there's big dudes. I've never been, a big check. And that's why. And I don't get aggressive. I don't get catty. I don't get nothing. I get very you look at them with a mommy voice. You're like, hey. Now is not the time or place. If you want to step outside for a minute, I'm about to call you a cab. You can have some coffee. You need to go sit in the corner.
Oh.
But you just change your voice, and because I'm usually all bubbly and smiley and stuff. So if I'm all of a sudden, I'm not doing this right now, serious, then it gets different. Then they know, right? Because usually I'm like, oh, hello. So if I'm not all, hello, then they know that something's not okay. I'm about to cut you. You need to sit down. I got a deaf girl out of one of the...
I always wonder, I would love to be able to read people's minds, okay? And I'll tell you why that brought up into my mind was specifically, there were a few times when other bouncers, or not other bouncers, but bouncers would assume I was involved in something, and 99% of the time I was never, right?
Oh, they're douches. They just want to start fights. I hate bouncers.
Well, that's the thing is when you look like this. People tend not to start a fight with you. Now, 9 times out of 10, it would be a very small bouncer who's very rambunctious, would grab my arm and be like, you got to get out of here. And I would just be like, I'd look at their arm and be like, don't touch me, ever. And the majority of those times, a big bouncer would come by and be like, hey, don't touch him. That's a bad idea. Because they know, big guy to big guy, we know how it's and the guy walks up and goes, hey, I know you weren't involved, but we're just trying to clear the area. And I'm like, I'll leave, that's fine. And they're like, and the big guy would be like, thank you. But the little guy's like, I can't touch you. I'm like, guy, listen,
He's got a little dog syndrome.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm not some sort of trained fighter or some sort of jiu-jitsu master. Yeah. No, I'm not like that. But I have been into altercations before, and I do some research. I do some training here and there. And I'm also a gigantic human being. Those are all factors that, when combined, can be very dangerous. Even though I'm not trained, that can result in a significant amount of danger to a human person. Now, there have been times when women have stepped in, bartenders, where somebody tried to start shit with me, and I'm like, just leave me alone, man. Please don't. And every time when I'm like, can you I'm just trying to have a good night. Can you just leave me alone? Just leave me alone. Yeah. Just leave me alone. And then when they would go too far, which is usually when someone goes and tries to poke my shoulder. I had one guy do that, poke my, just and I was like, and that's when I go, and I'll just stand up and this is what happened was I stood up, the chair went down, I walked through the table, and when I say through the table, I walked through the table, and this guy just started backing up. And that's when a waitress is like, she was a bartender, she comes and she goes, give me 30 seconds, please. And I'm like, okay. And she looks at the guy, she goes, seriously, fuckhead? Get the fuck out. You want that guy to do something? Are you fucking crazy? And I'm just like, that's probably good advice. That's a good idea. You should probably. And that's when my whole demeanor, like I will, I purposefully make my voice a little bit higher because it's recepted and heard better. Because when your voice gets deeper, it can be more intimidating. And when you talk to people, and it sounds like you're going to stand there and say, I'm going to rip your flesh from your bones, people don't necessarily like that.
That's why mine goes deeper. And that's why I put mine deeper.
You're learning shit here, people. You're learning shit. You should love this.
Yeah.
But that's why it's about that perception. Because I'll be honest with you, and I've said this in my stand-up sets, where I am proud of the fact that I have made, I believe it's quite a few people piss their pants because of me. But I have made like 3 guys shit themselves, like not full shit, but like they had to go home. Like they were not, like they drove with like half an ass cheek on the chair because they shit. It was enough shit that they had to go home. And the reason for that is I'm like, listen, so one of my things is a lot of times people will try and get away and everything. I'll just grab their entire face. And a couple guys, if you're small enough, is I can just go whoop, and just start lifting you up. And it's very difficult to lift somebody off their feet, but you can lift them up enough so they're kind of on their tippy toes. In their mind, you've lifted them off the ground. In actuality, it's not that hard. So when you do that, it's excessively emasculating. And then I'm like, I'll come up real close and I'll just start whispering into the ear. I wouldn't call them sweet nothings, more like the thoughts of a murderer is what I whisper into their ears and go from there. I do this so that they can piss themselves or shit themselves, whatever, dealer's choice on that one. And then fuck off, because I don't want to fight you. Some of you I do. I'll tell you that right now. Some of you I do. But in general,
why waste your time?
Exactly. I'm not going to jail for you.
Is that person worth it? Yeah.
Exactly. If I'm going to jail, trust me, I'm ripping your arms off. If it's getting to that point.
And you're giving them the gratitude that they're getting to you and that they're able to, like, it's like, you know what, I'm cool. You know, like, just, I'm good.
And that's like, I wish people understood the severity of an altercation. And when it goes so far into physical violence, it changes you. It really does change you. I'll be the first one to admit that. And it's not necessarily a change for the good, people. Like, it's hard to keep that, especially when you know that you can be that aggressive. It's hard to put that away again. And like, I remember the last real big fight that I was in that I wasn't a cooler.
Hulk smash.
Well, like after.
Like the Hulk.
Exactly. Afterward, I'll be honest with you, I went to go, the other guy went to the hospital. It's a long story, but, you know. So, he went to the hospital. I went for breakfast.
You're a big bad monster.
Well, honestly, my feelings were, I want to eat, drink, and fuck. That's what I wanted. But that lasted for like 6 hours, right? And I was surrounded by dudes, so not really my thing. But, you know, not that there's anything wrong with
watching UFC gets me all crazy hot. I love watching UFC. Fuck.
And that's why.
Fuck. Like, watching guys fight, it's like all their testosterone's like just pouring out. Like, it's like, that is right. And like I said, they're fighting over my love, so it's like,
it's hard. It's hard. They have to, you know? They have to outdo each other, you know? It's when it's that big of a prize, you have to ramp it up.
Exactly,
I get it. Trust me. There was a time they fought for my love too. Okay, there was a time.
I'm a huge UFC fan. I'm like, ooh.
Did you ever watch?
Who am I going to marry today?
I love how we've been talking about like how people are over sexualized and it's inappropriate, and you're like, ooh, look at me, mister. God damn it. Yeah, did you ever watch the first UFC? Did you watch that?
No.
That was messed up. Like, so when the first UFC,
like the very first
first, okay?
No. I haven't seen it.
It was brutal. And
I'm gonna YouTube it after.
maybe, I don't know if you can, but it was the first, so there weren't any rules. It just kind of went on as long as it took.
Nice.
So there was no rounds. There was no, like, it was...
Like street fighting.
KO or tap out. Those are your options. And
fucking A,
it was
street fighting.
It was the first one and the second one were brutal. And it was
oh my God.
one guy, I remember in the first one, this one guy was a boxer. I don't remember him being of any note for a boxer, but he was a boxer. And when he was walking into the ring, he had one hand with a glove and one hand without. And it was like, huh, okay, that's odd. But we talked about it and we said, oh, maybe he'll use the gloved hand to kind of like a lighter punch to distract from the harder hand. Maybe, I don't know. In the end, he got the shit kicked out of him like instantly because one hand was just like a hello, you can't grapple with this, so it's not gonna work.
No.
Well, he's a boxer. He doesn't know how to grapple in the first place, right? So I felt bad for him because he got the shit kicked out of him like really badly. It was brutal. Like, I was entertained, trust me.
Now I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, but like,
well,
it was very...
I'm like, ooh, if they get beat up real bad, I'm like, ooh, baby. Because I just know, like, the extra damage after, too. I'm like, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna be a little bit more fucked up.
Well, have you ever seen, like, there's, whatever you see, if you see them, like, with a cut or anything like that, you should understand that wherever that is gonna puff out, like, an inch to an inch and a half of swelling in that whole general area. Like, there's a reason why fighters don't just stick around for the press and talking right after the fight. Because they go to the hospital, okay? Like, look, their face gets mangled, right? It's very, very difficult. And that's why I think there's a lot of mystique behind it that people don't understand. That you're like, yeah, people get really hurt. Like, remember, there are certain bones that break very easily, and it's very dangerous. But I don't know how we got on this topic there, Crystal.
Sorry.
No, I blame myself.
I did send you. Oh my God. Okay, I know I've been so into this Jeffrey Epstein thing and Maxwell thing, and now that they caught her and stuff, but they're keeping it so down low on the mainstream media, and it's like, this is kind of a big deal, people.
It's not.
Nobody's talking about it on mainstream media.
Monstrous deal. It's a monstrous deal.
Huge. Huge, and the fact that they're not talking about it on mainstream media makes it even more of a big deal.
Well, so I already made a wager with somebody. I wonder how long until she's suicided, okay? Which suicided is not a word, but, because that Epstein didn't kill himself. Everyone knows that. Even professional skeptics are like, oh yeah, that guy got killed. There's no question about it, right? So in turn, I was like, yeah, it's only a matter of time. And a friend of my nephew's who we talk with regularly, he was like, nah, if she commits suicide, I'll give you $50. And I'm like, I'll take that bet. No problem. Actually, he said he would give it to me. He didn't say about me giving it to him, so whatever.
Epstein's case is what got me into like this whole like conspiracy thing, because I don't pay attention to people. So like I didn't know about any of these people before fucking Corona, really. But his case is what, like, now I don't believe anything. Now I'm like, fuck you guys. Like, you guys just fucked it all up. Like, they made me research it because of his situation. Yeah. Because I'm like, that's kind of messed up. That's really kind of messed up.
it's very messed up. And this is...
Oh my God.
This is where it's getting, like, freaky deaky.
It's got so many ties.
Well, because everyone jokes about, the government will just kill you, or, there's these people, and there's all this talk where people are like, the deep state doesn't exist, and it's hilarious because, I've been rewatching, have you ever seen Yes Minister?
No.
Okay. So it's from like the early 80s. It's a British sitcom that essentially is about a guy who's elected to be an MP in British Parliament, and then the story of him and his staff, right? So, and they explain how the staff, or the permanent secretaries, undersecretaries, things like that, the administrative staff of government doesn't really change. So when a newly elected official does, okay, that's why people are like, the first 100 days of a presidency are so important.
I know what you're talking
right?
about.
So the whole idea is they don't have the opportunity to affect much change because the bureaucracy doesn't change. Yep. And that's why people are like, oh, the deep state doesn't exist. Yeah, guy, it's just called government. Yeah. There's a government that isn't elected, and there's a government that is elected. The amount of government representatives that are elected is very, 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 very small. And they are perceived to be the leaders of government. However,
they're the puppets.
They're the public face. They're the public image.
Yeah.
So you have all this other
they
stuff.
have that in every company too. They have that in all like these huge companies that they have big sponsorship. You have Jay-Z talk for you. That you don't have the CEO of Reebok up there talking for you type thing. Like they have representatives in every company. It's business.
Listen.
Don't people see that this is just business? Politicians are just really crooked business guys. Like really fucking weird crooked businessmen. Yeah. Like they're not even as good as business people. I don't want to give them that. They're just really fucking fucked up frat boys. Like like that peed on each other too much and like weird shit.
Why did they have to pee on each other? Why do they have to pee on each other?
Because I just know that that's what they did. I know. I met the older version of frat boys. I don't hate anybody, but I have kind of a hate on right now for frat boys. I'm sorry, guys.
My perspective is this: forcing somebody to get peed on is not a rite of passage. You guys are just assholes. That's it.
Yeah, they are. Like all this shit that they do. It's like really. Oh, well, you have to get punished in order to be accepted.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Listen. I'm a member of certain groups, and I'll tell you right now, the philosophical punishment of knowledge is significantly more impactful than somebody getting peed on. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
No. Look, a lot of times we don't realize that the real punishment that people suffer is knowledge. Knowing means you can't ignore. And that is something we can't really bypass.
That was awesomely said. That is so fucking true.
Yeah, look at me.
That is so true.
I'm not just a pretty face there, Crystal. Thank you for noticing.
The more, like, sometimes you've, like, researched something, it's good to read, like I say, you educate yourself because knowledge, or the unknown is fear. Yeah. But sometimes when you do... Or when you pay attention, it's just sometimes it gets disappointing, but you know it, and you can work from there, and you can keep on.
Yeah, it's and that's why, like realistically, it's those are things that are really important, and people don't understand. I think we're just about out of time. We'll
do them shit! I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I know things are happening today, people. Let's go with what should we do for morning motivation? I got one. I'm not sure if I covered this, but we'll see what happens. People don't realize the difference between being motivated and being encouraged. Being motivated is also being convinced of an idea that isn't necessarily your own. That means that someone is manipulating your mindset or your perception for you to achieve something that may have not been in your best interest or just not your own personal goal. Whereas encouragement would be somebody doing their best to uplift your current emotional state so that you can continue pursuing the goals that you've set up for yourself. We need more encouragement and less motivation. People will post things to try and motivate but have no experience in having done anything. We see that and we mock it. We mock it freely. And that's not necessarily fair and it's not necessarily good. What is something that we should strive for would be to encourage those around us to achieve their goals. We can't always help. We can't. We only have so many resources. We all have our own problems. We have our own frustrations. We have our own guilt. We have our own duties. Duties. But
we have our own lives, duties.
But that doesn't mean we can't take that 2 or 3 seconds to encourage people around us to help them or to lift them when they thought they couldn't be lifted, that is not an encumbrance or an indebtedness that lasts very long. It's very quick, very painless, and it
means a lot, though.
It means the world. And
so much.
And I think that that's something that we should really focus on is don't try and motivate people for your own interests. Encourage them for their goals. I think that's what I want to say for today.
100. Oh, I swear every fucking time I'm like, I feel like you're talking to me. I'm like, okay,
see,
you're right.
And,
like,
but that,
or it's like,
it just means that you're not alone.
It's good though. That means how good it is. No, that's how good it is.
Yeah. And that's
that you can make people feel that you're talking to them. It's like when you hear a song and you're like, oh, that person's singing to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
This song is about you, goddammit. No.
Old Dominion sings to me all the time.
So, that is all for us, guys. Crystal, where can everyone find you?
Everybody can find me as Simply Me on YouTube as soon as I'm eating. And then Crystal Morency on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Dino.
I don't know what that was, but let's take it.
That was my trumpet for the plumpness.
Guys,
Sir Highness, the plumpness.
She made up that name and consistently doesn't get it right. It's very fucking honey. Now, so
well, I'm gonna start calling him princess because
I am not a princess. I am a prince, if not a king or a god. No, you can follow me at Dino the Genetic Marvel.
I came up with
on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have a fan page. By all means, I love your support. And as well, Morning Motivational Rant on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was having some physical difficulty yesterday. I had a wicked headache, but audio files are coming to other platforms as well. So YouTube, Instagram for videos.
I'm sorry, people.
Yeah, we're out there now. You can't put us back in. So.
I might not. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I might not be as okay to listen to if you can't see me. Like I think that's the only thing that keeps people.
Whereas I am perfect to be listened to. I am the epitome. This is a face for radio. This is a face for radio.
This is when he fires me. When he puts it out there and he's like, Crystal, all of a sudden.
That's not going to happen. Anyways, okay, that brings us to an end, guys. You have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.